Japan, rise, fall, and rise again. Japan's history is a captivating tale of resilience, transformation, and reinvention. From its meteoric rise as a global power in the early 20th century to the devastation of World War II and its remarkable post-war recovery, Japan's journey is a testament to its ability to adapt and overcome adversity. This essay explores Japan's rise, fall, and resurgence, examining the factors that shaped its trajectory and the lessons it offers for the future. The first rise, Meiji Restoration and Modernization. Japan's first major rise began in the mid-19th century with the Meiji Restoration of 1868. Before this period, Japan was a feudal society isolated from much of the world, governed by the Tokugawa shogunate, which maintained a strict policy of national seclusion, or sakoku. This policy kept Japan closed off from Western influence for over 2 centuries, with the exception of limited trade with the Dutch and Chinese. However, by the mid-19th century, pressure from Western powers, particularly the United States, forced Japan to open its ports to foreign trade, leading to a period of rapid change. The Meiji Restoration marked the end of the shogunate and the restoration of imperial rule under Emperor Meiji. Recognizing the need to modernize in order to avoid colonization by Western powers, Japan embarked on a path of rapid industrialization and modernization. The country adopted Western technologies, reformed its military, and revamped its education system. Japan's leaders sent envoys to study Western political systems, economies, and societies, bringing back ideas that were adapted to fit Japan's unique culture and needs. This period saw Japan transform from a feudal society into an industrialized nation. The government invested heavily in infrastructure, built railways, and modernized the economy by promoting industries such as textiles, steel, and shipbuilding. By the early 20th century, Japan had emerged as a major industrial power with a strong military, positioning itself as the dominant force in East Asia. Japan's rapid rise also had significant geopolitical consequences. The country's military victories in the First Sino-Japanese War and the Russo-Japanese War solidified its status as a major world power. These victories not only expanded Japan's territorial holdings, but also demonstrated its ability to compete with Western powers on the global stage. Japan's rise culminated in its participation in World War I, where it joined the Allies and gained control of former German territories in Asia. The fall, World War II and its aftermath. Japan's fall came swiftly and brutally during World War II. The country's expansionist ambitions, driven by a desire for resources and influence, led it into a series of conflicts that ultimately resulted in catastrophe. The invasion of China in 1937, the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, and Japan's subsequent involvement in the Pacific theater of World War II brought the nation into direct conflict with the United States and its allies. Initially, Japan experienced a series of early successes in the war, rapidly expanding its empire across Asia and the Pacific. However, the tide turned as the Allies launched counteroffensives that pushed Japan back. The war took a devastating toll on Japan's military and civilian population, with widespread destruction from Allied bombings, including the firebombing of Tokyo and the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945. The surrender of Japan in August 1945 marked the end of its empire and the beginning of a period of occupation by Allied forces led by the United States. The country was left in ruins, its cities destroyed, economy shattered, and its people demoralized. Japan's defeat was complete and its future uncertain. During the occupation, Japan underwent significant political, social, and economic reforms. The Allied forces, under the leadership of General Douglas MacArthur, sought to demilitarize and democratize Japan. The emperor, while allowed to remain as a symbolic figurehead, renounced his divine status, and a new constitution was drafted that established a parliamentary system of government and enshrined individual rights. The economic situation in Japan immediately after the war was dire. Industrial production had plummeted, millions were unemployed, and food shortages were widespread. The country faced the enormous challenge of rebuilding its economy from the ground up. However, it was during this period of adversity that Japan began to lay the foundations for its remarkable post-war recovery. The Second Rise, Economic Miracle and Global Leadership. Japan's second rise is often referred to as the Japanese economic miracle, a period of rapid economic growth that began in the 1950s and continued into the 1980s. This period transformed Japan from a war-torn nation into the world's second-largest economy, a feat accomplished through a combination of government policies, technological innovation, and a strong work ethic. One of the key drivers of Japan's post-war recovery was the United States' support through the Marshall Plan and other forms of economic aid. The Korean War also played a crucial role in Japan's recovery as the country became a key supplier of goods and materials to the United Nations forces, which provided a much-needed boost to its economy. The Japanese government implemented a series of economic policies that promoted industrial growth and technological innovation. The Ministry of International Trade and Industry played a central role in guiding economic development, providing support to key industries and encouraging exports. Japan focused on developing industries with high growth potential, such as electronics, automobiles, and steel. Japanese companies, known for their dedication to quality and efficiency, became global leaders in manufacturing. The concept of Kaizen, or continuous improvement, was embraced by Japanese businesses, leading to innovations in production processes and quality control. Companies like Toyota, Sony, and Panasonic became household names worldwide, known for their reliability and technological advancements. The 1964 Tokyo Olympics symbolized Japan's return to the global stage. The event showcased Japan's recovery and modernization, with the country unveiling new infrastructure, including the famous Shinkansen system, which became a symbol of Japan's technological prowess. By the 1980s, Japan's economy was booming, with GDP growth rates averaging around 10% annually. The country's export-oriented economy generated huge trade surpluses, leading to the accumulation of vast foreign exchange reserves. Japanese companies began acquiring assets abroad, and Japan became the world's largest creditor nation. The rise of Japan during this period was so dramatic that it led to fears in the West of Japanese economic dominance, the bubble economy, and collapse. However, the rapid rise of Japan's economy also sowed the seeds of its next downturn. The 1980s saw the emergence of the bubble economy, characterized by speculative investments in real estate and stock markets. Driven by easy credit and speculative frenzy, asset prices soared to unsustainable levels. By the late 1980s, Japan's stock market had reached unprecedented heights, and property values in Tokyo were among the most expensive in the world. The bubble burst in the early 1990s, leading to a prolonged period of economic stagnation known as the Lost Decade. The collapse of asset prices wiped out trillions of dollars in wealth, leading to a banking crisis and a deep recession. Japan's economy contracted, and the country struggled with deflation, high levels of public debt, and a slow recovery. The economic stagnation of the 1990s and 2000s forced Japan to confront the structural weaknesses in its economy. The aging population, declining birth rate, and rigid labor market were significant challenges that hindered economic growth. Despite efforts to stimulate the economy through fiscal and monetary policies, Japan's growth remained sluggish, and its economic influence waned relative to other rising powers, such as China. The Third Rise, Abenomics and Beyond. Japan's third rise, while more modest than the previous ones, began in the 2010 seconds under the leadership of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Abe's economic policies, collectively known as Abenomics, aimed to revitalize Japan's economy through a combination of monetary easing, fiscal stimulus, and structural reforms. One of the key components of Abenomics was aggressive monetary easing by the Bank of Japan, which included negative interest rates and massive asset purchases. These measures were intended to combat deflation and stimulate economic activity by encouraging borrowing and investment. The government also implemented fiscal stimulus measures, including infrastructure spending and tax cuts, to boost demand. Structural reforms under Abenomics focused on improving labor market flexibility, increasing female workforce participation, and encouraging innovation. The government sought to address the challenges posed by Japan's aging population by promoting immigration and increasing the retirement age. Efforts were also made to enhance corporate governance and increase productivity in key industries. While Abenomics achieved some success in boosting economic growth and reducing unemployment, it faced significant challenges. Japan's public debt continued to rise, reaching levels among the highest in the developed world. The country's demographic challenges persisted, with the population aging rapidly and the birth rate remaining low. Additionally, global economic uncertainties, including trade tensions and the COVID-19 pandemic, posed risks to Japan's economic recovery. Despite these challenges, Japan has remained a global leader in technology and innovation. The country continues to excel in industries such as robotics, electronics, and automotive manufacturing. Japan's cultural influence, particularly through its pop culture, anime, and cuisine, has also continued to grow, making it a soft power on the global stage. Lessons from Japan's journey. Japan's rise, fall, and rise again offer valuable lessons for the world. One of the key takeaways is the importance of resilience and adaptability in the face of adversity. Japan's ability to recover from the devastation of World War II and its subsequent economic challenges demonstrates the power of determination, innovation, and strategic planning. Another lesson is the need for balance in economic growth. Japan's rapid industrialization and economic expansion in the 20th century were impressive, but they also led to the excesses of the bubble economy. Sustainable growth requires careful management of financial markets, prudent fiscal policies, and a long-term perspective that avoids the pitfalls of speculative bubbles. Japan's experience also highlights the challenges of an aging population and declining birth rates, issues that many developed countries are beginning to face. The country's efforts to adapt to these demographic shifts through policies that encourage workforce participation, promote innovation, and attempt to integrate more women and older workers into the economy provide a model for other nations grappling with similar challenges. However, Japan's struggles with these issues also serve as a cautionary tale about the difficulty of reversing demographic trends once they are set in motion. The role of culture and soft power in Japan's resurgence cannot be understated. Even during periods of economic stagnation, Japan's cultural exports, ranging from anime and video games to fashion and cuisine, have continued to thrive, helping to maintain the country's influence on the global stage. This cultural diplomacy has helped Japan remain relevant and respected worldwide, even as its economic might has fluctuated. Moreover, Japan's commitment to quality and innovation continues to set it apart in a competitive global marketplace. Whether in the automotive industry, consumer electronics, or robotics, Japan's focus on excellence and continuous improvement, exemplified by practices like Kaizen, ensures that its products and services remain in demand worldwide. The enduring spirit of Japan. Japan's story is one of constant reinvention, marked by periods of rapid ascent, painful decline, and resilient recovery. From the Meiji Restoration to the post-war economic miracle, and from the bubble burst to the more recent Abenomics-driven recovery, Japan has repeatedly demonstrated its ability to adapt to changing circumstances and emerge stronger. The country's ability to navigate these cycles is rooted in a deep cultural ethos of perseverance, innovation, and a collective commitment to the greater good. As Japan continues to confront new challenges, from technological disruption to climate change, it will undoubtedly draw on these qualities to chart a path forward. Japan's journey teaches us that even in the face of adversity, there is always the potential for renewal. The lessons learned from Japan's rise, fall, and rise again resonate far beyond its borders, offering insights and inspiration for nations and individuals alike. As the world continues to evolve, Japan's experience reminds us that resilience, adaptability, and a commitment to excellence are the keys to enduring success.